For this course, the wicked problem I chose to explore is standardized testing getting in the way of a meaningful education? The reason I chose to ask this question is because I've seen schools that are so concerned with their test scores that teachers don't get to teach in the way they really want to. Oftentimes, these teachers wish that they could pique their students' interests through meaningful assignments such as projects, collaboration, and incorporating student choice. Instead, schools that focus on test preparation are often giving all students the same assignments and follow a strict curriculum in which teachers and students have less freedom. This caused me to question whether we are doing what is best for students in the long run and examine how standardized testing impacts our instruction. To learn more about this, I conducted some research on the differences between how high-performing schools and low-performing schools instruct their students, and how students can have a meaningful, engaging education while still achieving high test scores. To see what my fellow teachers' thoughts were on this topic, I created a survey that asked questions about their opinions of standardized testing, test preparation, skills needed for standardized testing, and how their instruction was influenced by standardized testing. Although I only had 9 participants take my survey, they're all teachers that teach in different areas with different demographics of students. One of the questions I asked participants was, would you teach students differently if there were no standardized tests? As you can see, most people said yes or not sure, and only one person said no. To me, this data shows that standardized testing does influence instruction in some way. Even those who said not sure are recognizing that standardized testing is probably impacting their teaching to some extent, because if it weren't, their answer would have been no. Since the data shows that only one teacher would definitely teach the same way, it could likely be concluded that standardized testing is restricting how we teach our students. In another part of my survey, I asked whether participants thought creativity contributes to success on standardized tests, followed by whether creativity contributes to success in the real world. Interestingly, only 2 out of 9 people said creativity contributes to success on standardized tests, while all 9 agreed that creativity contributes to success in the real world. To me, this shows that if we only prepare students for success on standardized testing, they're likely not going to receive instruction that encourages creativity. On the other hand, since creativity is a crucial element to success in the real world, it's important that we implement activities and instruction in which all students have the opportunity to build on their creativity, and it's treated like the valuable skill it is. This is just one example of how preparing students for standardized testing can leave gaps that don't prepare them for the world around them. When conducting research, one study I found that was held in Australia questioned what skills standardized testing evaluates. The study described that although the test is designed to assess students in each subject area, some subjects are unintentionally intertwined. For example, in order to answer a math problem, a student must decode a word problem in order to figure out what to do. This means that a student who is able to perform the math could get this question wrong if their reading and decoding skills are not as strong. The bottom line is standardized tests require more ability than what is within one subject area or content standard. As a result of standardized tests, many students at low-performing schools are given an education with less meaningful work. At one elementary school with African American students, they described their education as test preparation and found their experience unenjoyable. Unfortunately, this is a reality for many low-performing schools. Since African American students are more likely to attend low-performing schools, this means African American students in particular are more likely to receive an education that prepares them for a test as opposed to an education that helps them develop skills that will be meaningful in the real world. This is supported by a study in which the instruction in high-performing schools was compared to the instruction of low-performing schools. In the high-performing schools, instruction was learner-centered, where teachers and students had more freedom and choice in the classroom. In the low-performing schools, instruction was more teacher-centered, and the high pressure of improving test scores resulted in an emphasis on testing as opposed to an emphasis on students learning important skills. This study pointed out the irony that schools that are more focused on the test tend to do worse, but this is because the classrooms that are not focused on the test are prioritizing student engagement and learning. This type of instruction is demonstrated in this study of a STREAM middle school. STREAM stands for Science, Technology, Reading, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics, and uses project-based learning and real-world experiences to engage and teach students. Compared to test-centered approaches used in other schools, this method is preferred by businesses and other places of work because it better prepares students for the real world. The real question is, how do these students do on standardized tests? Well, according to this study, this method did not negatively affect students' test scores. While it may have been more exciting to hear that the students' scores went through the roof, this conclusion is actually great news because it means we can provide students with a meaningful education that prepares them for the real world while simultaneously preparing them for success on standardized tests. In my opinion, we should instruct our students with them in mind, not standardized tests. However, that doesn't mean we can't teach in a way that helps them succeed on tests. By giving students a well-rounded, meaningful education, students will learn the educational concepts they need for standardized testing because they will be more engaged. Students will also build qualities and skills that will help them in the real world, such as creativity, collaboration, and communication, as well as qualities and skills that will help them on standardized tests, such as perseverance, independence, and focus. To do this, teachers would establish a student-centered learning environment in which students have a say in what they're learning. Whether they're voicing their opinion on how they like to learn or have the opportunity to choose their assignment topic, the classroom should be built around student interests and needs. As an example of how you could use project-based learning in a student-centered classroom, I created a sample lesson plan for a 3rd grade social studies lesson. This lesson is about significant people in Illinois' history. After learning about different people in Illinois' history as a class, students will individually rank people from the person they are most interested in to the person they are least interested in. With this information, the teacher will group students based on their interests. In their groups, the students will create Google Slides presentations about their person from Illinois' history. The students will largely rely on one another, building their collaboration and communication skills. They will also have a day to conference with the teacher and get feedback from another group. At the end of the unit, students will present their slides to the class, and there will be an opportunity for classmates to give each other specific positive praise before the next group presents. The presentations will end up in the classroom drive for students to view at any time. This drive is private and can only be accessed by teacher invite. This is just one example, but the options are limitless. The main point is that giving students a quality, engaging, and meaningful education that will help them in the long run should be our main priority. And with that comes the ability to test well. Thank you.